Stop. Before you watch one more grammar lesson, one more vocabulary list, one more learn 100 words a day video, I need to show you something that will make a bigger difference to how people understand you than almost anything else you've tried. It's a 3-minute trick. You can do it in the shower, in your car, or standing in front of a mirror right now. And unlike accent classes that cost hundreds of dollars, or apps that make you wait for results, this works from the very first time you try it because it doesn't teach you new words, it retrains the actual muscles in your mouth. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to use it on every difficult English sound. Let's go! Welcome to Channel English Tom, and today's video is different from anything we've done before. We're not learning vocabulary. We're not learning grammar. Today, we're fixing the thing that quietly affects every single word you say, your accent. Here's something important I want you to understand before we start. Having an accent is not a problem. Everyone has one, including native speakers, an American accent, a British accent, an Australian accent. They're all just different accents. The real goal isn't to erase your accent completely. The real goal is clarity, making sure that when you speak, people understand you immediately, without asking you to repeat yourself, without that awkward pause where they're trying to decode what you just said. Today, I'm going to teach you the exact 3-minute trick that professional accent coaches use, and then we're going to apply it to the specific sounds that cause the most misunderstandings for English learners. The TH sound, the R and L sounds, tricky vowels, V and W, and finally, word stress and rhythm, which honestly matters just as much as individual sounds. This is a long, hands-on lesson, 50 minutes, so get in front of a mirror if you can, because we're going to be watching our mouths today, not just listening. If you're driving or can't watch a mirror right now, that's completely fine too. Just listen closely, and come back to the visual practice later, because the explanations alone will still sharpen your awareness of these sounds. Let's start with the science behind why accents happen in the first place. Here's something almost nobody explains clearly. Your accent isn't really about your ears, or your intelligence, or how good you are at English. It's about muscle memory in your mouth, tongue, and lips built up over years, or decades, of speaking your first language. Every language uses a slightly different set of mouth positions. Your native language trains your tongue to sit in certain places, your lips to move in certain ways, and your jaw to open a certain amount, thousands and thousands of times, since you were a small child. That muscle memory became automatic, completely unconscious. When you switch to English, your mouth naturally wants to use those same old, comfortable positions, even though English actually needs slightly different ones. This is exactly why simply trying harder to speak clearly usually doesn't fix an accent. You're not lacking effort. You're using the wrong physical technique, unconsciously, because nobody ever showed you exactly where your tongue, lips, and jaw need to go for each specific English sound. Think about it like this. If you've been playing tennis your whole life with one type of grip, and someone tells you to just hit the ball better, that advice does almost nothing, because the actual problem is in your hand position, not your effort. The fix isn't more effort. The fix is a different, specific physical technique. That's exactly what we're doing today with your mouth. Here's the genuinely good news. Because this is a muscle memory issue, not an intelligence issue, it is completely fixable, at any age, with the right specific practice. Your mouth muscles can absolutely learn new positions. Professional singers, actors, and accent coaches retrain adult mouths constantly. It just requires the right technique, repeated consistently. And that's exactly what our 3-minute trick is designed to build. Why just listening more doesn't fully fix it? Many learners believe that if they just listen to enough English podcasts, movies, native speakers, their accent will eventually fix itself. Listening absolutely helps your ear recognize the correct sounds, and it's genuinely valuable. But here's the missing piece: your ear can recognize a sound perfectly, while your mouth still physically produces something different, because your mouth was never shown, specifically, where to go. This is why some learners who've listened to English for 10, even 20 years, still have noticeable pronunciation issues on specific sounds. The input was there, but the physical, muscular output was never directly, consciously retrained. Think about a singer trying to hit a difficult high note. They can listen to a recording of the correct note 100 times, and understand exactly what it should sound like. But until they physically practice positioning their throat and breath correctly, in front of a mirror or with a vocal coach watching them, that correct sound often doesn't come out reliably. Pronunciation works exactly the same way. Listening builds the target. Mirror practice builds the physical skill to actually hit it. This is exactly why today's method is different from passive listening. It's active, visual, physical retraining, and it's the same core method professional accent coaches charge hundreds of dollars per session to teach. You're about to learn the whole thing, for free, right now. The core trick, explained. Alright, here it is, the actual 3-minute trick. It has 3 simple steps, and I want you to remember them using the letters M, S, R, mirror, slow motion, repeat. Step 1, mirror. Step 1 is simple, but almost nobody actually does it. You need to watch your own mouth while you practice, using a mirror, or the front camera on your phone. Here's why this matters so much: you can't fix a position you can't see. When you only listen to yourself, your brain often hears what it expects to hear, based on years of habit, even when the sound isn't quite accurate yet. Watching your mouth gives you real, honest, visual feedback, the same way a mirror helps you fix your posture, or your form at the gym. Step 2, slow motion. Step 2 is where the real magic happens. Instead of saying a difficult sound at normal conversation speed, you say it in exaggerated slow motion, almost comically slow. Focusing entirely on where your tongue, lips, and jaw are positioned, one tiny movement at a time. This might feel strange or even silly at first, honestly, and that's completely normal. But slow motion practice does something powerful. It interrupts your old, automatic muscle memory, and gives your brain time to consciously build a new, correct movement pattern, instead of just falling back into the old, comfortable one. Step 3, repeat. Step 3 is short, focused repetition. Not 20 minutes of random practice, but 3 focused minutes, on just 1 or 2 specific sounds, done with full attention, using the mirror and slow motion technique together. 3 minutes, done properly with real focus, actually builds more muscle memory than 30 unfocused minutes, because the quality of attention matters far more than the quantity of time. This is genuinely how physical therapists retrain injured muscles, how singers fix pronunciation issues, and how professional accent coaches get real results with clients. Short, highly focused, visually guided repetition, done consistently, every single day. Why 3 minutes, specifically? You might wonder why 3 minutes, and not 10 or 30. Here's the honest answer. 3 minutes is short enough that you'll actually do it every single day, without it feeling like a burden, and consistency beats intensity, every time, when you're building new muscle memory. Most people who try to fix their accent quit after a few days, not because the method was wrong, but because they tried to do too much, too intensely, and burned out. 3 focused minutes a day, for 30 days, will do more for your accent than one exhausting 2-hour session that you never repeat again. Here's exactly how to structure your 3 minutes, starting today. Minute 1. Pick one specific sound that's difficult for you. We're about to cover the most common ones. Watch a reference video or listen to a native speaker say it clearly a few times. Minute 2. Stand in front of your mirror and say the sound in slow motion, watching your mouth the entire time, adjusting your tongue and lip position based on what you see. Minute 3. Gradually speed the sound back up to normal conversation speed, while still occasionally glancing at the mirror, until it starts to feel more natural. That's it. That's the entire trick. Mirror, slow motion, repeat, 3 minutes, one sound at a time, every single day. Common questions about the trick. Let's quickly cover a few questions that almost everyone has, before we move into the actual sounds. What if I don't have a mirror nearby? Your phone's front camera works exactly the same way. Prop it up, or hold it, and watch your mouth on screen instead. What if I feel embarrassed doing this out loud? This is completely normal, and honestly, almost universal at the beginning. Try your first few sessions somewhere private, your car, your bathroom, your bedroom with the door closed. The embarrassment fades quickly, usually within the first week, once you start noticing real progress. How long until I see results? Most learners notice a real, audible difference within 1 to 2 weeks of genuine daily practice on a single sound. Full comfort and automatic use in real conversation typically takes 4 to 8 weeks of consistent practice, but the very first session often already improves your awareness of the sound, even before your mouth fully catches up. Should I practice multiple sounds in one 3-minute session? No, and this is important. Focus on one single sound per day. Splitting your 3 minutes across 5 different sounds means each one only gets 36 seconds of real focus, which isn't enough to build genuine muscle memory. One sound, 3 full minutes, done properly, beats 5 sounds done poorly, every time. Now, let's move into the actual sounds. We're going to apply this exact technique to the specific sounds that cause the most trouble for English learners, starting with one of the most famous ones, the TH sound. Sound 1, the TH sound. The TH sound is famous for being difficult, because it barely exists in most other languages, which means most learners substitute it with a similar sound from their own language, like D, T, Z, or S. Let's fix it, using our mirror, slow motion, repeat technique. The correct mouth position. Here's exactly where your tongue needs to go, and this is the part almost nobody explains clearly. The tip of your tongue needs to gently touch the bottom edge of your upper front teeth, sticking out just slightly, almost like you're gently biting the very tip of your tongue. Air flows out over your tongue, between your tongue and your teeth, creating a soft, hissing friction sound.
Look in your mirror right now.
Say th in extreme slow motion, stick your tongue out slightly, touching your upper teeth, and slowly push air through. It should feel a little strange, maybe even slightly uncomfortable at first. That's actually a good sign, because it means you're using a genuinely new position, not falling back into an old habit.
2 versions of th. Here's something important: there are actually 2 different th sounds in English, and mixing them up is extremely common.
The first is the voiceless th, where only air comes out, no vibration in your throat, like in the words think, 3, and thank you. Try it now, in slow motion, in the mirror, th.
Th, think.
The second is the voice th, where your throat vibrates while you make the sound, like in the words this, that, and the.
Put your fingers gently on your throat, and try it. Th. Th, this.
You should feel a vibration for this that you didn't feel for think.
That vibration is the entire difference between these 2 sounds. Minimal pairs practice. Now let's practice with minimal pairs.
Words that differ by just this one sound, which trains your mouth and your ear together. Watching your mouth in the mirror, in slow motion, repeat these pairs: tank versus thank.
Tree versus 3. Dis versus this. Well, dis isn't a real word, but say it anyway, to feel the difference. Sink versus think. Boat versus both.
Say each pair slowly, 3 times, watching your tongue touch your upper teeth clearly on the th word, every single time. Let's add a few more pairs, this time using the voice th, day versus they.
Den versus then. Close versus clothe. Bathe versus bathe.
A full sentence practice. Let's put it into a full sentence, the kind you'd actually say. Repeat, in slow motion first, then at normal speed. I think that this is the best thing I've ever thought about. Notice how many th sounds are packed into that one sentence. That's intentional. It's a great practice sentence to return to during your daily 3 minutes. Here's one more, focused on the voice th specifically. This is the 3rd time I've asked them to bring those things over there. Say it slowly, watching your tongue touch your upper teeth on every single th, then gradually speed up while keeping the position accurate. Remember your homework for this sound: pick either the voiceless or voice th, and do your 3-minute mirror, slow motion, repeat routine on it today, using the words and sentence we just practiced.
Sound 2 and 3, R and L.
The R and L sounds are famously difficult for many learners, especially because in some languages, these 2 sounds are actually treated as versions of the same sound. In English, they're completely different, and mixing them up can genuinely change the meaning of a word. Think light versus right, or collect versus correct.
Let's fix both, one at a time. The English are position. Here's the key thing almost nobody explains about the English R.
Your tongue should not touch the roof of your mouth at all, and it definitely shouldn't touch your teeth. Instead, curl the very tip of your tongue slightly backward and upward, without touching anything, floating in the middle of your mouth, while the sides of your tongue touch your upper back teeth. Round your lips slightly forward too, almost like you're about to say oh. In your mirror, in slow motion, try it, RRR, red. Watch that your tongue never actually touches the roof of your mouth. That's the single most common mistake, and it's what makes an R sound like a D or a rolled sound from other languages, instead of the soft, curled English R.
The English L position. Now compare this to L, which is almost the opposite. For L, the tip of your tongue firmly touches the ridge right behind your upper front teeth, that bumpy ridge you can feel with your tongue, while air flows out around the sides of your tongue. In your mirror, in slow motion, LLL, light. Watch your tongue tip clearly touch that ridge behind your teeth every single time, feeling the difference. Let's alternate between them, slowly, watching your mouth the entire time. R, L. Notice how completely different these two positions are, one where your tongue floats, curled, touching nothing, and one where your tongue firmly touches that ridge behind your teeth. Minimal pairs for R and L. Let's practice with minimal pairs, in slow motion, watching your mouth in the mirror, right versus light. Rock versus lock. Correct versus collect. Fry versus fly. Grass versus glass. Read versus lead. Say each pair 3 times, slowly, really exaggerating the tongue position for both sounds. The most common R and L mistakes. Here are the 2 mistakes I see most often. Mistake 1. Touching the tongue tip to the roof of the mouth for R, which creates a sound closer to a rolled or tapped or found in many other languages, instead of the smooth, floating English R. If your R sounds a bit like a very short D, this is almost always the cause. Check your mirror, and make sure your tongue tip never actually touches anything. Mistake 2. Not fully committing the tongue tip to the ridge behind the teeth for L, resulting in a softer, less clear L that can sound closer to a vowel. If your L sounds weak or unclear, exaggerate the tongue touching that ridge firmly, even more than feels natural at first. Let's add a few more minimal pairs to build real confidence. Arrive versus alive. Berry versus belly. Wrong versus long. Free versus flee. A full sentence practice. Here's a practice sentence, packed with both sounds. The red light really helped me collect the correct results. Say it in slow motion first, watching your tongue carefully switch between the floating R position and the touching L position, then gradually speed up to normal conversation pace. Your homework: pick either R or L, whichever feels harder for you specifically, and do your 3-minute mirror, slow motion, repeat routine today, using today's words and sentence. Sound 4, tricky vowels, and V versus W. Let's move to 2 more sound groups that cause frequent misunderstandings, a pair of easily confused vowel sounds, and the V versus W distinction. The short I versus long E vowel. This pair causes real, meaning-changing confusion. Think ship versus sheep, or live versus leave. The short I sound, as in ship, is made with your mouth slightly more relaxed and your tongue slightly lower and more central. The long E sound, as in sheep, is made with your mouth slightly more spread wide, like a small smile, and your tongue higher and more forward, and the sound is genuinely held slightly longer. In your mirror, in slow motion, IH, ship. Now, EEE, sheep. Notice the difference in your mouth shape, more relaxed in short for ship, more spread and stretched for sheep. Let's practice minimal pairs, ship versus sheep. Sit versus seat. Live versus leave. Fill versus feel. Bit versus beat. A second vowel pair, short A versus UH. Let's add one more commonly confused pair, the short A sound, as in cat, versus the neutral A sound, as in cut.
For cat, your mouth opens wider, and your jaw drops noticeably, with your tongue low and forward. For cut, your mouth barely opens, your jaw stays fairly relaxed and closed, and the sound is short and central. In your mirror, in slow motion, jaw dropping wide, triple A, cat. Now, jaw relaxed, barely open, cut. Let's practice minimal pairs, cat versus cut. Bad versus bud. Man versus mun, again, not a real word, but useful for feeling the shape. Ran versus run. The V versus W sounds. This pair is famously confused by learners from many language backgrounds, because in some languages, these sounds don't exist separately, or they blend together. For V, your upper teeth gently touch your lower lip, and air vibrates through that small gap, very similar to an F, but with your voice turned on. For W, your lips round forward into a small circle, like you're about to whistle, and your teeth don't touch your lip at all. In your mirror, in slow motion, teeth touching lip, VDV, very. Now, lips rounded, no teeth touching, www.west. Let's practice minimal pairs, vest versus west. Vine versus wine. Very versus wary. Vet versus wet. Let's add a few more, van versus wan, again, less common but useful for the ear. Veil versus whale. Vow versus wow. Notice how vow and wow are especially tricky, because they're both extremely common, everyday words, and mixing them up genuinely changes meaning. A full sentence practice. Here's a practice sentence combining both sound groups. I saw a very wet sheep sitting near the West Village. Say it slowly first, watching your teeth touch your lip clearly for the V sounds, and your lips round forward with no teeth touching for the W sounds, then speed it up gradually. Your homework: pick either the ship versus sheep vowel pair, the cat versus cut pair, or the V versus W pair, whichever feels harder. And run your 3-minute routine on it today. Before we move to stress and rhythm, let's cover one more area that quietly causes a huge amount of misunderstanding: the ends of words, especially final consonant sounds and consonant clusters, which many learners unconsciously drop or soften. Why final sounds get dropped. In many languages, words naturally end in vowel sounds, or a small, limited set of consonants. English, by contrast, regularly ends words in complex consonant clusters. Think asked, months, texts, or simply the final S, T, D, and ed endings that mark plurals, past tense, and third-person verbs. If your first language doesn't naturally end words this way, your mouth may unconsciously want to drop that final sound, or soften it into something barely audible, and dropping it can genuinely change meaning, or make you sound less clear, even when every other sound in the sentence was perfect. The 3 ed endings. Here's a detail almost nobody explains clearly. The ed ending at the end of past tense verbs is actually pronounced 3 different ways, depending on the sound right before it. After a voiceless sound, like in walked or watched, the ed is pronounced like a simple T sound, walk-T. After a voiced sound, like in played or cleaned, the ed is pronounced like a simple D sound, play-D. And after a T or D sound specifically, like in wanted or needed, the ed gets its own extra syllable, want ID, need ID. In your mirror, try all 3, walked, quick T at the end, no extra syllable. Played, quick D at the end, no extra syllable.
Wanted a full extra syllable, want ID.
Getting this wrong is extremely common, and either dropping the ending entirely or adding an extra syllable where it doesn't belong is one of the fastest ways to sound unclear on verb tense specifically.
Final consonant clusters.
Let's also practice a few genuinely tricky word final clusters in slow motion, making sure every single consonant is at least lightly touched, even if the very last one is soft. Make sure you can hear the K and the T. Months, make sure the N, TH, and S are all present, even briefly.
Texts, K, S, and T ending in sequence.
World, R, L, and D, all in one smooth final cluster. Say each one slowly, exaggerating every consonant in the cluster, then speed up while trying to keep at least a light trace of every sound, rather than collapsing the whole ending into a single vague sound. Why this matters more than it seems. Dropped final sounds might seem like a small detail, but they're actually a huge, silent source of misunderstanding in real conversations, because English relies heavily on these small endings to carry grammatical meaning. The difference between I walk and I walked, or one book and some books, often lives entirely in that final sound. A listener who misses a dropped ed or s might genuinely misunderstand your timeline, or how many of something you're describing, even though every other part of your sentence was completely clear. Practicing final sounds, just a little, tends to produce a surprisingly large improvement in how easily people follow your meaning.
Stress and rhythm.
Here's something genuinely important that most accent advice completely ignores: individual sounds are only part of the story. Even with perfect individual sounds, English can still sound unclear or foreign if the stress and rhythm are off, because English is what linguists call a stress-time language, where certain syllables and words are emphasized strongly, and others are almost swallowed. Word stress. Every English word with more than one syllable has one syllable that gets extra emphasis, louder, slightly longer, and slightly higher in pitch. Getting this wrong, even with perfect individual sounds, can make a word hard to recognize. Listen to the difference: ph autograph, photogiraffe, photographic. Same root word, three completely different stress patterns, three different related words. In your mirror, exaggerate the stressed syllable, almost comically, in slow motion, computer.
Important. De vel up.
Really punch that stressed syllable, louder and longer than the others, until it feels almost exaggerated. That exaggeration is exactly what trains your mouth and your ear to hear and produce natural stress. Sentence stress on the swallowed small words. Here's the part that surprises most learners the most. In a natural English sentence, small connecting words a, the, to, of, and, can are usually spoken quickly and quietly, almost swallowed, while the important content words, nouns, main verbs, adjectives, are stressed clearly. This is completely different from many other languages, where every word gets roughly equal emphasis. Listen to this sentence, with the stressed words in capitals: I want to go to the store. Notice how to, and the are almost rushed through quickly and quietly, while want, go, and store are clear and emphasized. Try saying it yourself now, in the mirror, exaggerating this pattern, really rushing through the small words, and really punching the important ones. Practice with real sentences. Let's practice a few more, with the stress marked for you. She's going to the market to buy some fruit. Can you help me carry these bags? I really appreciate your help today. Say each one in the mirror, first in slow motion, rushing the small words and punching the stressed ones, then gradually at normal conversation speed. This single skill, natural stress and rhythm, often makes a bigger difference to how native you sound than any individual sound we practiced earlier, because it affects the entire music and flow of your sentence, not just one isolated word. Intonation, the rise and fall of your voice. One more piece of the rhythm puzzle is intonation, how your pitch rises and falls across a sentence. English uses intonation to signal meaning in ways that are easy to miss if you're only focused on individual words. For yes or no questions, your pitch typically rises at the very end. Are you coming today? With a clear upward lift on the last word. For statements, and for questions starting with what, where, who, why, and how, your pitch typically falls at the end. Where are you going? With a downward drop on the last stressed word. Try both, in your mirror, exaggerating the pitch movement. Are you ready? Voice rising up at the end. Now, where's your brother? Voice falling down at the end. Getting this backwards is a subtle but real cause of confusion. A statement that rises like a question can sound uncertain or unfinished, even when the grammar is perfectly correct. Now, let's combine everything from today, individual sounds, and stress and rhythm in one final, complete practice round. I'm going to give you a full paragraph. Read it out loud, in your mirror, first in slow motion, focusing on every sound and stress pattern we practiced today, and then at normal conversation speed. Here's the paragraph. I think that this is really important. The correct way to practice is to watch yourself carefully in a mirror, and repeat very slowly at first. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a clear accent, but with 3 focused minutes, every single day, you will absolutely see real, noticeable progress. Notice this paragraph deliberately includes th sounds, r and l sounds, our tricky vowels, v and w, and clear stress patterns throughout. It's designed as a genuine daily warm-up you can return to. Now, say it one more time, at full, natural conversation speed, the way you'd actually say it to a real person. Notice how much more controlled and intentional your mouth movements feel now, compared to the very beginning of this video, even after just 50 minutes. A second practice paragraph, slightly harder. Let's try one more, slightly longer paragraph, combining everything one final time, at a slightly more natural, faster pace. Rachel really loves traveling around the world, especially visiting villages where very few tourists ever go. Last winter, she and her brother went hiking through the valley, and they thought they saw wolves near the river, though it turned out to be wild dogs. They still laugh about it whenever they think back on that trip. Read it slowly first, watching every R, L, TH, V, and W sound in your mirror, then read it again at natural speed. The self-recording test. Here's a genuinely powerful bonus step, if you want to track your real progress over time. Record yourself, right now, on your phone, reading either practice paragraph from today, at natural speed. Save that recording, and label it with today's date. Then, in 30 days, after doing your daily 3-minute practice, record yourself again, reading the exact same paragraph, and compare the 2 recordings back to back. This kind of direct, before and after comparison is one of the most motivating things you can do, because unlike day-to-day practice, where progress feels invisible and slow, a 30-day comparison usually reveals a genuinely surprising, noticeable improvement. Here's your real challenge. Starting today, choose just one sound from today: th, r, l, the ship versus sheep vowels, the cat versus cut vowels, v versus w, or word stress and intonation. And commit to 3 focused minutes, mirror, slow motion, repeat, every single day, for the next 7 days. Not all 6 areas at once, just one. Real accent improvement comes from focused, daily repetition on one thing at a time, not scattered, unfocused effort across everything simultaneously. Let's quickly recap what we covered today. We learned why accents actually happen. It's muscle memory, not intelligence, which means it's completely fixable. We learned the core 3-minute trick: mirror, slow motion, repeat. And we applied it directly to the th sound, r and l, 2 tricky vowel pairs, v versus w, and finally, word stress, sentence rhythm, and intonation, which might matter even more than individual sounds. Remember, the goal was never to erase your accent completely. Accents are a completely normal, even wonderful sign that you speak more than one language. The goal is clarity, confidence, and being understood immediately, every time you speak. Somewhere in the world right now, a beginner with a strong accent and clear pronunciation is being understood more easily than an advanced speaker with unclear pronunciation and a huge vocabulary. Because clarity, not vocabulary size, is what actually carries a conversation. Your homework, starting today: pick one sound, set a timer for 3 minutes, stand in front of a mirror, and go slow. Do it again tomorrow. And the day after that. Record yourself today, using one of our practice paragraphs, and set a reminder to record yourself again in 30 days. I promise, when you compare those 2 recordings side by side, you will notice a real, measurable difference. And that proof, in your own voice, is often the single most motivating moment in this entire process. If this video helped you, please like it, subscribe to English Tom, and let me know in the comments which sound was hardest for you. That tells me exactly what to cover next. Thank you so much for practicing with me today, mirror and all. Keep practicing, keep watching your mouth, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.